What is up, everyone? Today we have a Husqvarna, blah blah blah. I don't know, XT722FE. Not sure if there's any letters in front of that. I could look somewhere else, but continuing on. The problem is it's not starting. Obviously, it's a key start. Battery's dead. I have the charger. It does kind of want to work, so I don't know if the battery's good. Don't know, but I think the main problem that we have is this. So let me show you. I say think because this was a text message I got saying, hey, I dropped off something for you to look at. Please let me know what you think. And I got home and this is in my driveway. I wish I could say that was uncommon, but it's not. It didn't feel like it had all that much compression. So it's not usually a good thing. It does have oil though, so that's good. I don't know if it's just a valve adjustment that's needed or what. But these Kohlers, they're a finicky one. Maybe it does have enough, and I'm just seeing the compression release is just super good. I don't know. Let's just give it a pull, see what happens with a little starting fluid. Don't know how much of that actually made it in there, but let's see. And that's like pulling like there's not even a plug in there. Is there even a plug in there? Yeah, there's a plug in there. There, I just shot it through the throat to the carb. Yeah, no. I think we have hopefully just a valve problem. So I'm gonna jack this up and we'll take a look. When I was pulling on the pull cord, I noticed this was shaking a little bit, which that happens. When I was jacking it up, I noticed these screws are not all the way in. So I think this has been worked on a little bit beforehand. You don't have to take the top off. I did for our purposes of being able to see it. But I took the top off. It's something else I did is I took the plug out and I was smelling the plug and I smelled the brake cleaner and what I kind of think is fuel mix. So we may have a carb problem, we may not. I don't know how long this has been sitting, but moving forward. So I've taken the screws out, also propped this up on a block to avoid any oil spillage if possible. There's also a clamp on the bail, so we should be able to spin this freely. It's not really screaming out bad adjustment. I guess the only thing to do is take a feeler gauge and double check them. So the exhaust is pressed down now. Let's grab our feeler gauges. I'm gonna say this should probably be around 4 thousandths. That's generally where they like to keep them at the engine of this size for the intake. Well, that's not moving in at all. Okay, let me do a little research real quick. So based on what I've seen, it should be at 5 for the intake and 7 for the exhaust. You have to be careful that you don't hit your hand on this horrific auto choke mechanism. Oh, we didn't even break it free, we just broke the... Okay. Not a very good angle. There we go, I think. Yeah, okay. The outside one is 10, the inside one is 14 millimeter. So the 4, which is too small, didn't even fit in there. And to be honest, that's a good thing. If it was too loose, that's not going to cause lack of compression, because basically what ends up happening is the valve is not really fully seating. So this is 5. I like to go a tad bit on the loose end because as soon as you tighten it down, it probably will kind of get a little bit tighter. Slippery oil. Now, I might have to take this off. It's just not wanting to play very well. Oh, no, it's playing well. The whole stud is coming out. Well, that's no good at all. Now, is it? Find a clean place for these. There we go. So we don't get dirty. Oh, yeah, that whole thing is spinning. So I'm going to get a deep socket and try to get that tightened down again. Okay, got it all cleaned. Well, finished. This needs to be adjusted a little more though. Yeah, definitely too tight. Okay. Perfect amount of drag. Now, let's see what the exhaust was supposed to be. 7 thousandths. So let's pull out our 7, move it around. Same thing. So quite literally the exact same thing happened. The whole post just came out when I tried to loosen it. So I have a feeling we know what happened. I think this got overheated. And things just kind of stretched a little bit. But it could be a little looser. I'm also kind of at a bad angle. Once you straighten it out, that's pretty decent. So let us, let's see here. I'm going to put my thumb over the spark plug hole. Oh yeah, I feel compression now. So, whenever you do anything like this, you do want to spin it around a few times just to make sure everything's nice and was seated before, and I want to make sure that's all good. So we are at the exhaust, which we discovered was 7. Yep. Potentially could be a little tighter. This is a cheating way. You shouldn't ever do this. Oh, see, that's why you should never do this. Okay, well, you know what I mean. I'm going to put the cover back on and get this done the proper way, since the cheating way bit me. What is up, everyone? There is a Husqvarna that I'm in the middle of a video on. Catch that one. But more or less, yeah. Continuing on. After determining that our choke is not going to work, I want to go over how to fix a Kohler Auto Choke. I already have one about this, except I believe it was the older style. And yeah, or maybe newer. It's just different. I'm going to say this one's probably the older one, to be honest. But either way, it's roughly the same. But I had a few comments saying that that's the only true way to do that is by doing a manual cable, and yeah, I'm sure. But first things first, you need to take off the carb. The reason why is when you take the choke linkage off, in order to take the choke linkage off, the carb has to be moving. So 2 10mm, take that off. They're chilling right there. And we're easy. Next thing you know, to make it easier, I'm going to be taking off the cover. This is actually a charger for the battery. This one does have a starter motor. So I'm going to get it cleaned up and we'll get started. Yours might have a different cover, so it's pretty easy. Usually there are just 3 connections and that's it. Pulls right off, except mine is broken. I have to fix that one. Anyway, whenever you work on anything like this, make sure to pull the spark plug off. Just a safety thing. We're not going to be pulling the motor over, but just in case, you know. So now we have the carb loose. We do need to remove anything that might fall, such as this gasket. Next thing, technically you probably don't need to do this, but you don't really need to remove the carb, but just to make it easier, it's 2 10mm. We're just going to be moving it, but you could just take this off. You probably take it off a lot easier, but whatever. Down here, there is a 10mm. You're going to want to be careful with this one because it is part of the exhaust. It fluctuates in heat quite often and rusty. So when we take it off, we're going to make sure we don't snap it. So I'm going to go get a socket and get this taken off. Now that's taken off. It is kind of held into place a little bit right there. Just have to pull straight up. And that's it. Something you do need to do though is on the carb, which is why I took the cover off. It's going to be real difficult if you don't. You need to take this little bracket off. This bracket attaches on top of the carb, and you need to remove it as part of this whole assembly. Now, speaking of assemblies, this is a new one. Like I said, it comes with that little bracket, and it's exactly what you would imagine because we just took it off. But if you're looking for this piece, the part number is 14-187-10- the letter S as in Sam. That should fit a variety of Kohlers. If you have something of approximately this size, should be it. If you have the other type, however, you're going to get the other type. The other type doesn't have the shaft going in the center. It has like a little arm coming out of the center. So you don't want to get the wrong one. So if you take off your cover and you see that one, that's the part number you need. I do also want to point out how this choke linkage is connected. See how it's going from the bottom up through, and it has a little bend on top to kind of go around the actual plastic arm here. You don't want to put it on backwards. If you put it on backwards, all you're going to do is have it fall off, and then you're going to be pulling on it not knowing that it fell off, and with no choke, next thing you know, nothing good happens from then forward. So make sure you get the right orientation. And then like that, a couple T20s on top. If you're taking this off, be very careful. These love to strip out. So if you have an air compressor or a pick or something, make sure the tops are clean so you're able to get full engagement of the thread or the, I don't know, top. Don't want to have it dirty and you're just using like the top like half. If you do that, you're probably going to strip it out, and that's just not fun. Put the 10mm back. I'll go ahead and plug in the spark plug real quick here, and after that I'm just going to put everything back together. Like I said, just two 10mm. Put the air filter box back on, air filter, whatnot. I did put a little WD-40 on the top and the bottom where it pivots and moves, just to make sure that everything was nice and free moving. It was, but a little oil definitely never helped, or definitely never made any problems. Here we go. So everything should be good to go. I'm going to try to run the battery, see if it runs. If not, then, or use the battery in the starter. It's charged overnight, but who knows. To do this, you have to hold down the handle if you weren't aware. Yeah, perfect. She runs. So, auto choke has been fixed. So, if you have the problem, let's explain a little bit. More or less, I think just over time, the little spring that comes in here just gets worn out, crusty, dirty, and it just isn't able to fully close the choke. So, replace that, make sure it's lubricated, you should be good to go. That part I think is like 20 or 30 bucks. So it's not that bad. You can try to repair it. It works. But just to make sure you have years of usage afterwards, might as well just buy a new one. Pretty easy to install, as you can see, but that should fix your auto choke issue. Last caveat, if you have the other one, it's literally the exact same process. It's just part just looks different. That's all. Just imagine a little arm on there. That's it. That's all there's. That's it. No more. I'll leave you at that. Have a good night. Follow me on Instagram at SmallEngine101. I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.